Okay, hello, Sadhu everyone. Everyone's Saranai. So we are here again on our Sunday weekly sutta readings, and we were finally done with the first sutta, which took us 4 sessions. Actually, it's not nearly enough. It should have taken about a year or two to explain properly, but I guess fortunately for you all, it didn't. We didn't spend that much time or much detail on it. So today we are going to start with the second sutta, which is called the Sabbasava Sutta, which is an incredibly important sutta, and it's sort of an outline for the practice of meditation actually, and it shows us how to root out the most subtle sort of insidious defilements in our mind. So before I start reading, let's pay homage to the Lord Buddha. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jetas Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir," they replied, "the Blessed One said this." So this first part, it is mentioned that this discourse was delivered at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. So you may have heard in our chanting this bit. Evang me sutang ekang samayang bhagava savatthiyang viharati jetavane anathapindikassaharame. So this is the translation of that. So the Jetas Grove in Anathapindika's park is where a lot of the suttas take place, because the Lord Buddha spent a lot of time um, during the middle and later years of his teaching career, of his life as the enlightened one with the disciples in this park. It was donated by this millionaire called Anathapindikas. But even though he was a millionaire, and he built this monastery for the sangha, it wasn't like a palace or anything. It was just a normal, very quiet, austere place. There's a lot, just normal kutis and some halls, and all the kutis, which are like the huts in which the monks reside, are all the same. They are all the equal size. So in the Vinaya, there is a certain length measurements that we can have, because as monks we have to live with as little as possible, be happy with what little we have. So the monks can't have a big, elaborate, massive mansion to live on. So we have to live in this quite a small hut, enough, good space, enough for walking, meditation, and sitting and sleeping. And all the kutis are the same. So even the one the Lord Buddha resided in was the same size as the rest of the monks. So you can see like how humble he was, and sort of he didn't put himself so far above. He's like, oh, I'm the Buddha, so I don't need to follow this rule. I can live in a mansion or something. He lived with the rest of the monks, followed the same rules as the rest of the monks, and lived a very simple and charmed existence. I hope one day that I will get to visit Savatthi and Jeta's Grove, Jetavane Monastery, and sit down and sort of imagine how it was like to listen to the Lord Buddha as just another monk sitting down. So it's sort of, you can bring into your mind this big monastery in the middle of a woodland, really nice and cool shaded trees, quite different from the rest of the really hot place that is Benares, sorry, is what's the place called? Savatthi. So to the rest of it. Bhikkhus, I shall teach you a discourse on the restraint of all the taints. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, Venerable Sir, the bhikkhus replied. The Blessed One said this. So in here, the restraint of all the taints, what is called the taints here is a translation of asava, which is a very important Pali term to know and understand. Uh, Another translation for asava is fermentations, inflows, influxes, sort of trying to describe like this bubbling thing, like this is a bubbling cauldron that we have jumped into. It's like a fermentations. It's like a taint in our minds and our actions, and this inflow of suffering, outflow of suffering and greed and everything. And so there are three asavas described in the sutta. So there is the kama asava, which is the taint of sensual desire. So our eyes, ears, nose, and tongue and body, and even the mind, the thinking mind. It's the way the craving that they need. So a good illustration of that would be sort of, let's say when we are eating and when it's a really nice meal, we spend more time craving more of that than actually enjoying what we are eating. So while we are eating, like, you just wolf it down. It's like, it tastes so good, like I want more of it, and you just try to shove it down your throat as fast as possible. And like, if you don't like it, just think, I want something else. It's like, I remember when I was a kid and I went to this really beautiful place in Sri Lanka, and just looking around at this amazing scenery. It's just unbelievable, out of this world. And I felt like my eyes weren't enough to see this. It's like there was a real thirst to keep seeing more. It's like I kept looking, like I would try to open my eyes wide and look around more. No matter how much I looked, it wasn't enough. I just wanted to see more, and I wish I could stay here forever and would keep looking at it forever. And there was this real sense of dissatisfaction because like I could never get enough. It was so beautiful. And that's really how we spend most of our time. Like if you are tasting something nice or hearing something nice, it's like we don't actually enjoy it because we are mostly just thinking about how we can get more of it or how we can make it nicer. And this leads to a real sense of dissatisfaction and suffering. So that's sort of an illustration of the karma asava. And it gets deeper than that, but that's a good way to start our practice, to look at it. And how to there's nothing wrong with the senses. That's the this is, we need to use them. But the problem is, like, it would be nice not to desire it. It would be nice not to rely on it for our happiness. That's the point of meditation. And the other one is the second one is what's it, bhava asava. So that's craving for existence. It's like craving for rebirth in the heavens and whatever, and also trying to make more of something you have, like wanting it to keep existing. And that's sometimes just because you want it, you can't get it. That can cause a lot of suffering. And you can see how this bhava asava can manifest in some beliefs where people go to extreme lengths in order to be born into heaven, and that can cause us suffering. And there is more nuance to that approach, and there are more sort of approaches to understanding it, which you will learn as you keep going on the sutta. And the third and final one is avijjasava. That's the ignorance. That is sort of the basis. It's like it's the first step in the paticca samuppada. It's Ignorance is what conditions all the suffering that we have. Once you pierce through ignorance and you see their reality, is when you stop suffering, is when you come to an understanding of things as they are, is when you come to understand the world as it is, and you experience as it is, and you stop suffering. And that is why we meditate, and that is why we practice the Buddhist path of the realization, in order to reach a point of understanding. And avijja, ignorance, is actually quite a deep and meaningful term. It is something that we are subject to every single moment of our lives until we attain a state of awakening. Um, these three asavas need to be cut. So these inflows, you need to dam them up. You need to dry out the streams in order to achieve enlightenment. Even the Sotapanna, the stream enterer, has even for a moment or two cut off all the asavas, and they feel this really sublime and contented, absolute peace of nibbana, just for a wee while. That's a stream enterer. That's how they gain their absolute faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, and that's why they are now on the path for sure to liberation. That they are safe now from falling too far from a downfall. So anyway, now in the next couple of verses, the Lord Buddha is summarizing the rest of the sutta. Bhikkhus, I say that the destruction of the taints is for one who knows and sees, not for one who does not know and see. Who knows and sees what? Wise attention and unwise attention. When one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise and arisen taints increase. When one attends wisely, unarisen taints do not arise, and arisen taints are abandoned. So we can learn now a few things. So the destruction of the taints is for one who knows and sees. This is very important. Knows and sees. This is the knowing and seeing is the absolute conclusive form of understanding in this sasana. Knowing and seeing is directly experiencing something. So you have to directly experience first what are the taints, what are these asanas, not just the meaning that I conveyed to you through words today, not just what is written in the books, but through your meditation, through your daily life experience. If you can truly see what the asanas are, then you can know and see them. And when they are truly cut off, when you are truly even developing towards cutting them off, when you are attempting this in our path of meditation, in our path of sila, in our path of virtue, in our path of concentration and developing wisdom, when we get to know and see these things, that's when we are working towards the destruction of them. It's not for one who does not know and see. So it's not for one who is analyzing what this means on paper, but for one who actually practices it and has experienced it. And the second most important thing in this is wise attention and unwise attention. So that in Pali is yoniso manasikara, which is wise attention, and ayoniso manasikara, which is unwise attention. These are two words that you will come across a lot. They are really the basis of how we should carry out our day-to-day lives. Always attending to things wisely, looking at things in a wise way. Not just, I don't know, coming to quick conclusions and stuff like that, and not to look at things on the surface level, but to look deep within and try to understand the processes that are going on there and in our minds. This is a skill that develops with practice. So we look at the footnotes. Wise attention. Yoniso manasikara is glossed as attention that is right, means upaya, on the right track, path. It is explained as mental advertence, consideration, or preoccupation that accords with the truth, namely attention to the impermanent as impermanent, etc. So, etc., I guess, would also attending to the impersonal as impersonal, attending to what is suffering as suffering. So, seeing reality without trying to run away from it, trying to confront these things head on and just not try to lie to ourselves, not to tell ourselves a story, not to wrap anything up about it, just to see it and properly understand it. Unwise attention, ayoniso manasikara, is attention that is the wrong means, on the wrong track, upatta, contrary to the truth, namely attention to the impermanent as permanent, the painful as pleasurable, what is not self as self, and what is foul as beautiful. So, unwise attention, ayoniso manasikara, is basically just trying to lie to ourselves. like I had, it's like trying to run away from the truth, sort of. Unwise attention. The commentaries informs us is at the root of the round of existence, for it causes ignorance and craving to increase. Wise attention is at the root of liberation from the round, since it leads to the development of the Noble Eightfold Path. The commentaries sums up the point of this passage thus: the destruction of the taints is for one who knows how to arouse wise attention, and who sees it to that unwise attention does not arise. Okay, very important to understand this fact now. If you want the supreme peace of Nibbana, you have to attend to yoniso manasikara, to wise attention. Try to develop it so it becomes intuitive, so that you are always this is always working in the mind, like the it's sort of like a machine that keeps on going, just analyzing things properly, and also seeing it to that unwise attention does not arise. So you know the distinction between the two, and you know how to develop one greatly and how to diminish the power of the other one. To know when if you're considering something unwisely, to know that okay, I'm I'm being unwise here, and how to see the disadvantage in that and try to lessen it, how to try to ignore the sort of conclusions you come to when you attend to something unwisely, and you see the advantage and accept the conclusions you come to through wise attention. So this is something that you can gain an intuitive understanding of as you go along the path. The further, the commentary sums up the point of this passage thus. Okay, we done that already. Okay, so fourth verse, bhikkhus, there are taints that should be abandoned by seeing. There are taints that should be abandoned by restraining. There are taints that should be abandoned by using. There are taints that should be abandoned by enduring. There are taints that should be abandoned by avoiding. There are taints that should be abandoned by removing. There are taints that should be abandoned by developing. So to go to the footnotes, six of these, omitting the taints to be abandoned by seeing, are mentioned in the Catechism of the taints in, okay, yes, referring another sutta. So these are six methods that we can use in order to abandon the asavas. They are abandoned by seeing, so understanding them, looking at them, seeing them. And two, by restraining. So the restraint is done through sila, but also samadhi and panya. So meditation and our precepts. Third one is should be abandoned by using. So that's using wise attention. There are tastes that should be abandoned by enduring. So sometimes you just need to put up with them. There are tastes that should be abandoned by avoiding. So by avoiding them, again through wise attention. There are tastes that should be abandoned by removing. So those are the six methods of abandoning the asavas. Okay, so to the first method, taints to be abandoned by seeing. This is very important for our practice of vipassana, for our practice of meditation. The first two methods of seeing and restraining is something that we can do through just bare attention, through sati, through mindfulness, whereas the rest require a degree of control that you need to apply to effort. So the first method, what taints bhikkhus should be abandoned by seeing. Let's read the footnote for seeing. The word seeing, dasana, here refers to the first of the four supramundane paths, the path of stream entry, sotapattimaga, so designated because it offers the first glimpse of Nibbana. The higher three paths are called the paths of development, bhavana, because they develop the vision of Nibbana to the point at which defilements are eradicated. Okay, so this is saying that Dhamma Chakku, the Dhamma eye, when it opens, that's normally used to describe a Sotapanna. That's when you open the Dhamma eye, you see it. So the taints should be abandoned by first seeing it. Here, bhikkhus, an untaught ordinary person who has no regard for noble ones and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dhamma, who has no regard for true men and is unskilled and undisciplined in their dhamma, does not understand what things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Since that is so, he attends to those things unfit for attention, and he does not attend to those things fit for attention. The commentaries makes the important point that there is no fixed determination in things themselves as to whether they are fit or unfit for attention. The distinction consists rather in the mode of attention. The mode of attention that is the causal basis for unwholesome states of mind should be avoided, while that mode of attention that is the causal basis for wholesome states should be developed. So it's not really, there is nothing intrinsically that should be avoided about a certain thing that you pay attention. It's the how you pay attention to it, how is the mode of your attention that is the basis for our practice, is what the commentaries are saying. So I guess that would be sort of again yoniso manasikara. And it's saying that a putarjana, an untaught worldling who has not heard the Dhamma, who has no regard for it, does not know how to do this. And this is what leads to their state of being, their state of suffering, and also ours, because we sometimes don't know that either until we see. What are the things unfit for attention that he attends to? There are things such that when he attends to them, the unarisen taint of sensual desire arises in him, and the arisen taint of sensual desire increases. The unarisen taint of being arises in him, and the arisen taint of being increases. Okay, I realize that I'm running out of time now, and it's quite a long passage, but it's a very important one, so I'm going to leave it to our next session so we can talk about it properly. But basically, now we are looking at how we can see this in meditation. So what I mentioned before, the way when we eating, how we can't really enjoy it because the taint of sensual desire of karma is not letting us truly taste the food. It's just like you're wondering how you want more, or like, oh, I should have got more of this, all of that. It's quite a very interesting. There's more to it, more subtle nuances, which we can try and go over in our next session. So I hope you all enjoyed this sutta reading. Reading suttas is quite a it's quite an enjoyable pastime once you get into it, and you go past all the repetition and sometimes the cryptic sort of utterances. But when you consider them, you realize how much sense they make, and when you apply them to your own lives and try to look at your meditative experiences through what the Buddha said in the suttas, there is so much more to learn, and it's truly a very wonderful journey of exploration, these suttas. So I hope that you will all keep on doing that, and I will see you again next Sunday. Thank you all for listening. Salut, everyone. Night.